Why are we doing another EV? Who could possibly care at this point? Is this the future? Is this all there is? Just electric cars all the way down? Who could possibly care at this point? The infrastructure isn't there. It's not gonna be there. And range? Dude, forget about range. Decent range is a figment of California imagination. Oh, you want to solve climate change, bro? Let me tell you something about climate change. Look, me, I don't care about climate change at all. But if I did, I would make a couple of good points about lithium mining, and it'll really make you raise a few eyebrows. Is it worse than fossil fuels? Yeah, probably. What if everyone got EVs? You think the grid can handle an electrified bukkake? If everyone has EVs, no one has money in their bank account, the economy tanks, and unless you enjoy paying $1,100 a month for your electricity, then I don't see why you would want everyone to have an EV. My patience right now is thinner than the slices at a 5th grade pizza party, and I'll tell you something else. The hippies who drive these things, they are gonna have kids who grow up to be the kind of parent who decides it's their job to discipline everybody else's kid. If my teenager, look, if my teenager wants to drop a thrice on the foosball table in the community center, then I'll be the one who tells them no more whippets. But as far as I'm concerned, you're not gonna be the way, okay, I can't do this bit anymore.
This episode of RCR is brought to you by Raycon earbuds. With optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. These earbuds are so comfortable and they will not budge, they will not fall out of your ear even if you get super sweaty. They charge in this little egg, and you get 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life. They have 3 customized sound profiles, noise isolation, and awareness mode. And the best thing is, they fit inside your motorcycle helmet. Put the helmet on your head, mushroom style. Get the, wrong way. This is the right one, they're right and left. Now, carefully pull it, there they go. They're in. Yep, they're in. Where's my phone? Oh, need my glasses. Half the time I'm riding my motorcycle with earplugs in anyway to just attenuate the world, so why not just do this? Yep, they're playing. So click on the link in the description
or go to buyraycon.com/RCR to get 15% off site-wide with code HOLIDAY. There will also be new pop-up deals every day during Raycon's countdown to Christmas, and I'll try to keep the description box updated with the latest offers. But just so you know, you can always go to buyraycon.com/RCR to get the best deals available on Raycon.
Does anyone actually hate electric cars? Like, as a concept, the fact of their existence. Does anyone truly hate these cars and wish they would go away? Are there people whom electric vehicles simply will never reach? Or is it that these theoretical opponents of electric vehicles simply haven't found the right one yet? Because if that's true, then I would think there are few EVs that would be as agreeable an entry point as the Polestar 2. Even while acknowledging that among electric vehicles, it's not really the best one out there. But here's the thing. The Polestar 2 is a lot like the Charles Bukowski saying about how an intellectual says a simple thing in a hard way, whereas an artist will say a hard thing in a simple way. This is an electric car that says a nominally difficult thing in a very simplistic fashion because it's attempting to make electric vehicles as accessible as possible without sacrificing science fiction notions of luxury. Because you see, it's a Volvo, really. And it kind of looks like a modern Volvo too. Our volunteer Jim even told us most people he encounters think it's a Volvo because of the Thor's hammer headlights. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the lack of any extraneous badging will keep anyone from actually realizing what this is in the first place. I came across one of these as I was driving along Route 100 one night and didn't know what the hell I was looking at and almost didn't care enough to find out. Until I saw this. This little badge right here. It's one of the few indications you're driving a Polestar other than this little sticker right here. Oh, and I guess the little emblem on the steering wheel. You know, there are some indications that you're driving a Polestar, but in the grand scheme of things, I could truly say I had no clue what I was seeing because I couldn't remember the last automaker I'd come across who aimed to be this mysterious about their brand, which is odd because Polestar actually has a pretty cool story. It essentially began as a team of engineers tuning Volvos to race in the Swedish Touring Car Championship in 1996, eventually working hand in hand with Volvo and becoming a licensed partner under the name Polestar Performance before being bought by Volvo outright in 2015, making them more or less a luxury performance wing of the Swedish automaker. This is sort of like Richard Hammond being a loyal fan of the original Top Gear back in the 70s and then getting to audition for the 2002 relaunch with Jeremy Clarkson, never thinking he'd actually get the gig. But then he did. And now you could argue he's as synonymous with the glory years of that show as the era he used to watch. And in the same way, Polestar is in a unique position to be the reason people talk about Volvo in the 2020s. Because what we have here is a car that more or less was designed to be a Volvo. It started out as the Volvo Concept 40.2 in conjunction with the Volvo Concept 40.1, which would eventually become the Volvo XC40. But the Concept 40.2 took a different approach, as the company was moving away from the plug-in hybrid foundation of the Polestar 1 and finally getting in on the EV craze full scale. Emphasis on full scale, since the limited run of the Polestar 1 meant that the Polestar 2 would be the first mass-produced Polestar vehicle in existence. This all-wheel drive Polestar offers a dual motor that gets you around 408 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque and a top speed of 127 miles per hour.
Okay, fun time. Okay, so it's kind of like Kia's in that I'll bet sport mode. That's a good amount of shunt. So it beats the pants off of my Kia.
From what I have read, sport mode does nothing except turn traction control off. It doesn't change the suspension. It doesn't change your throttle nav.
Really?
That's what I read. And
all sport mode does on my Kia is change throttle position. It just accelerates faster on the thing. Or that's a lie. Eco mode will rubber band your acceleration. So you can romp on it from a dead stop. It'll be, hey buddy.
Range is supposedly around 230 miles on a single charge, and the dash says 250 miles when fully charged. Right now, you're seeing it at around 70%, but Jim feels he can get above 275 when fully juiced. Oh, another thing that I would find insanely useful is the curry hook right here in the glove box to hang takeout bags. I cannot tell you how many times I put takeout on the floor of my car and tried to cushion it with whatever I could find and then just pray that it doesn't go sloshing around all over creation. It's so interesting because this is a fairly elegant solution to a problem that I don't think many people would care enough to address. And I hear you, Kyle. Oh, who would ever really need a hook for bags? Look, there are a million different ways a conversation could go, and you chose the path that got you banned from the Olive Garden, so I don't really want to hear it. Of course, the car does have issues.
So one scary thing about this car, it's only happened to me once, but the automatic collision avoidance system not only applies brakes, but it will also change your steering angle. And that happened to me once on a road just like this. It must have detected a shadow or something that it thought was an object in the road, and it put me in the oncoming lane.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. You can overpower it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was a wide open road, and there was no one there, luckily. So I wasn't, both hands on the wheel at the time.
Oof.
But, yeah, so that kind of freaked me out. I opened a service request with the dealer, and it's like, oh, that's normal. I'm like, okay. So then I just started emailing executives at Polestar, and the president, Thomas Ingelath, I think his name.
Yeah.
He got back to me in like 20 minutes. And this was the night before he was going to be on the NASDAQ floor ringing the bell because they just gone public.
Wow.
That's crazy to me that he's checking his email. But anyway, so he replied to my email, and he had a car carrier out to my house the next day to bring it back for diagnostics.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
One of the issues in going with a car like this that Jim told me about, and which I've corroborated from countless forums online, is the problems Polestar has been having with the telematic and connectivity antenna module, otherwise known as TCAM. It's this little thing right here on top of the car, and it's responsible for everything from the GPS to the Bluetooth to your friggin' car key. Now, the problem is that in rare cases, they're prone to outages that can range from minor connectivity issues to being locked out of your car entirely. It's something Polestar is still working on, which I imagine is going to be the case for a lot of the companies breaching the electric vehicle sector over time. For their part, Polestar has issued over-the-air updates to fix any problems that might turn up. But if you don't have connectivity, that's obviously going to be tough, in which case you'll have to manually reboot the entire system or have it brought in for servicing. And obviously that's a pain in the ass, and if you're part of a human centipede, it's a pain in all three. Now, so far, Polestar seems to hold themselves accountable for the software deficiencies, which is something at least. Because hey, you can make excuses or you can make a car that could be an actual player in the EV sector, but you can't really do both. Which brings me back to the central question of what electric cars mean to different people, because the notion of this mythical person who hates electric vehicles and resents their growth feels like an arbitrary construct, a straw man that's a substitute for hating the people who drive them, or crucially, a substitute for how people make them feel for not driving them. Why do you think so many YouTubers put out long essays about The Last Jedi? A lot of them felt condescended to. They felt like it was taking a thing they liked and making them feel foolish for ever having liked it, and then being told they just didn't understand what a bold deconstruction it was. And look, I like The Last Jedi, I'm a dork myself, but I kind of see where they're coming from. And it's kind of the same deal with electric vehicles. People who resent EVs probably resent being made to feel like they're somehow less than for not driving one, which further gets them to dig their heels in on the notion that even if the car itself isn't bad, it's still the sole domain of self-righteous, self-important people, and what is hell if not other people? Cheap plug, I know, but I was recently interviewed by Reuters for an article on electric vehicles, and I'm not even sure they'll use the quote, but it was something along the lines of how electric vehicles get treated like the boogeyman to enthusiasts when they're really just another evolution in an industry that has always been changing. And realistically, change should challenge you. And whether you worship at the altar of internal combustion, even the most dyed-in-the-wool gearhead should be able to find something to love about an EV, provided you give it a real chance. But that willingness seems inextricably tied to meaning, to the desire to understand what the point of an electric car even is, when internal combustion is still here and capable of doing everything a driver could need it to do. It's easy to just imagine a guy who's combing his mustache and hiking up his Dockers and spitting into a juice cup while proclaiming loudly that it's the fancy pants community pushing EVs on everyone else and living by the mantra that, again, hell is other people. But how do I explain this? Hell is only other people for as long as we allow other people to dictate how we feel about the world we live in. You cannot control other people, but you can control yourself. You can try anyway. You don't have to let snotty attitudes dissuade you from seeing the inherent value of an EV, even if you're still holding on to internal combustion with both hands, like a failing marriage that you're just trying to run out the clock on until your mother dies and she can go to her grave knowing that her son wasn't living without the benefit of matrimony. And look, I hate change. I hate it so much. In a lot of ways, I'm part of the problem, grasping in the dark for meaning, overthinking a concept like electric vehicles and feeling a vague security in the notion that cars will remain cars, exactly as I've known them, holding on to the notion of a comfortable, familiar status quo. But what happens when the thing you wanted to hold on to forever lets you go? When that time comes, and hopefully before, you find meaning in life within yourself, or else nothing will ever fulfill you. So hell isn't other people. Hell is whatever we make it, for however long we choose to stew in the emotions that sustain that hell. And I'm not saying don't feel things, but don't stew in it, you know? Emotions are evidence of things having happened to us. Bad things, yes, but good things too. The quilted experiences of our lives are woven from a coarse fabric that softens over time into something resembling a story. I guess I'm saying all this to bring it back to the point that For whatever it's worth, automakers are still trying to write the story of electric cars, to figure out how all people fit into that narrative. The people who are open-minded about electric vehicles and those who are maybe less than convinced. And it's a path that's going to be fraught with trial and error. But I think the Polestar 2 achieves something resembling a baseline for an EV that even the staunchest critic would probably have a hard time complaining about. It's not the fastest EV, but it rides smooth and has great acceleration. It doesn't have the best range, but it's better than factory claims. It's comfortable as all hell, and in moments, it's fun. I don't know that EV loyalists are going to love this, but then I never felt, driving this, that that's who this was targeted at reaching. Maybe over time, Polestar will refine the model and split the difference, creating something that everyone can really get behind. But for now, I think this is a damn fine attempt.
Volvo takes their phone, and your phone charger faces away from you so you can't look at it.
All the way on the other side of the mountain, there's a place I see where no one's incomplete. It's not the life I'm used to, but it's the only one I have. So take this old fox body and teach it something new, like how to share a Fairmont life with you.